Hello, everyone, and welcome to KTAL News Now. I'm your host, Anthony Mocklin, and today is Monday, which means we will be recapping some of the events that went on this weekend. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend in whatever you did. If you watched our Thursday edition of Weekend Events, I'm sure some of you went and took part in those that took place over the weekend, and I hope you all had a great time. But today we'll be recapping some of those events that did take place this weekend, and the one of the biggest news right now in the country, not just locally, is the government shutdown, and that has been impacting several federal agencies in operations, and most notably, with the holidays coming up, it has affected airports as air traffic controllers and pilots and everything of that nature. They are being unpaid right now. They are working without pay because of the government shutdown, and they are not being funded into those programs. So, and as a result of that, a lot of them are calling out of work. So the shortage of air traffic controllers that are working currently right now, the Federal Aviation Administration has taken drastic measures as they are reducing the amount of airplanes that are in the air currently. And they said the reason for this is because they don't want any complications or troubles, because with the lack of air traffic controllers, it's hard to coordinate with so many planes in the air. So as a result of that, they are unfortunately canceling a lot of flights. And most notably at the Shreveport Regional Airport, we have already started to see some of the impacts as the holidays, like I said, are ramping up. People are going home, seeing their families for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it really could not have come at a worse time. So and then the Federal Aviation Administration took this into effect this weekend, and it has impacted, not like I said, not just Shreveport flights, but flights across the country. You've seen cancellations across the board, and KTAL's Elisha Gatewood got to speak with representatives and travel agents at the Shreveport Regional Airport to hear more.
Flights are being canceled across the country as FAA reductions begin to take effect, leaving some travelers stranded.
Just over a period of time, our flights go out full. And so I'm sure there's going to be, with the cancellations, our flights are going to get more and more full. People's patience are getting a little bit shorter.
Travel agent Judy Walters says the timing couldn't be worse, with the holidays just around the corner.
So how do you expect this to impact holiday travels?
Oh my goodness. Well, we're praying that it gets settled before, because people are trying to get home for their families, and you're going to have a lot of cancellations. That's my opinion.
And while flyers are waiting for updates, many are running into a new issue. Rental cars are harder to find.
We flew in here 2 days ago and then had a reservation, and like I rent a car a week. And no cars available from any of the companies. Actually ended up calling Home Depot, and their truck you can rent from them, and I've been driving that for the last 2 days.
International flyer Jonathan Dahlsmith says the shortage is not just in North America, but everywhere.
20 other people, same issue. They had rented a vehicle and then no car. They're like, hey, I don't know what agency or what's going on, but they reserved the vehicle for you, but nothing's available.
Airport Director Mark Crawford says in a statement, currently one flight from each American, Delta, and United has been canceled on Friday. We have not been made aware of any additional cancellations later this weekend or next week. All other flights are operating as normal. Crawford says travelers should double check their flight status before heading to the airport.
And be sure to visit ktalnews.com to find all of your latest updates regarding the government shutdown. We've been tracking it on our website in real time with each and every update that comes through. So be sure to visit that. That's also where we stream this show every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. But like I said, flights are being impacted with the holidays coming up. And as much as people hate to admit it, Christmas season is officially here. I know a lot of people like to wait until Thanksgiving is over, but it seems each year we are getting more and more early when it comes to celebrating the Christmas season, usually around November 1st, the day after Halloween. They go from scary to jolly, and, more power to you if you like to do that, if that's something you're interested in. If you are a huge fan of Christmas, I can't blame you. It is the most wonderful holiday of the year, and It really is like I said, the most wonderful time of the year, in my opinion, especially with Thanksgiving and Christmas back to back like that. And then you have New Year's a week later. It's just a really, really awesome time for the holidays and spending time with family and friends. But unfortunately, some families around our area don't get to experience that. They are there are a lot of families that are less fortunate and in need these holidays, and that's why the Salvation Army of Northwest Louisiana is setting up an angel tree program. And they had an event this weekend where the Salvation Army is helping kids receive Christmas gifts this year. And KTAL's Melody Newsom has more and info on how you can contribute.
Salvation Army of Northwest Louisiana is getting into the Christmas spirit with an Angel Day at the Walmart on Burt Coons to support their Angel Tree program. In this program, hundreds of kids are registered by their guardians who need a little help so they can receive a gift from those willing to make their Christmas a little brighter. Shoppers had the opportunity to stop by, select an angel tag, and shop for gifts right on the spot. Development Director Julie Allen says the kids don't ask for much, just something to remember a good Christmas.
They're asking for simple stuff. They want jumbo walkie-talkies. They want Barbie dolls. Of course, our little older ones would love a tablet, but that's to help them with school as well as fun for home. And then, of course, like a scooter or a basketball, just simple things to help them stay outside and play.
Buying loads of gifts can be hard on families, especially single parents. Kimberly Reyes says she's grateful she's able to give back like someone once did for her own child.
It does a lot to families that are in need, especially single moms. I know I'm one myself, and I was actually Angel Tree mom myself a couple years ago, and it just feels good to give back because I know I had to struggle at one point, but it feels good to know that it's still happening in the community and they're helping other parents as well.
The Salvation Army prides itself on helping the less fortunate, making sure that each child's Christmas is special is worth all the work.
We don't want to make sure these kids go without. We want to make sure that these kids have a fantastic Christmas, that these parents don't feel stressed out for Christmas, and that no one feels forgotten.
Melody Newsom, NBC6 News.
And again, for more information on how you can support a great cause this holiday season, visit ktalnews.com to find out how you can get involved, donate, and participate this year with the Salvation Army and really help those families and children in need. But one thing that happened in Bossier City this past Friday was legendary guitarist and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member James Burton hosted a benefit concert at the Horseshoe River Dome. And he was joined by 14-time Grammy winner Emmylou Harris, and KTAL's Taylor Smith has more on the sights and sounds from the concert.
Burton hosted a benefit concert at the Horseshoe River Dome where he was joined by 14-time Grammy winner Emmylou Harris. Fans packed the venue for a night of music and fun, all in support of the Bossier Parish schools. And thanks to the Burton Foundation, guitars will be donated to local students, giving them the gift of creativity and rock and roll.
It's an incredible experience, and James knows, and you tell here, but James knows the importance of young people and music because it helped him in his life. So that's been the goal of the foundation, is to be able to give guitars to children, young people, so that they can be the next generation musicians, and be the next James Burton.
And that's what we call a community united to give back by the power of song.
And that concert looked like a lot of fun. It was so cool hosting legendary guitarist James Burton here in our area. And as good as he is on guitar, you know, I tried learning guitar once and it was pretty rough. I mean, that was when I was a kid. I first got the inspiration when I played the original Guitar Hero game, which is actually celebrating its 20th anniversary this month, specifically on Saturday, where November 8th marked the 20th anniversary of the original Guitar Hero game for PlayStation 2. And ever since then, it has spawned a brand new generation of not just music lovers, but video game enthusiasts, specifically when it comes to rhythm gaming. And it has really paved the path for rhythm gaming as a whole. Although it's been kind of lacking recently in the games department. It was originally developed by Harmonix and published by Red Octane. And like I said, this put a lot of people, especially the newer generation, onto classic rock with all of these classic songs that are on there that were able to be played on a guitar controller. If you've played before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It always brings such a wave of nostalgia over because I very fondly remember my, time playing it and enjoying those games so much, especially Guitar Hero 3, Legends of Rock. That was probably the pinnacle when it came to the rhythm games back in the day. I had that for the original Wii back then, whenever the Wii was like the big thing from Nintendo. And I had that on there. I still have my Wii guitar. I actually just ordered a brand new rhythm guitar that is a modernized version of it from the company Cracked. That's CRKD. They do a lot of peripheral stuff when it comes to video game cases and grips for Nintendo Switch systems, but they also have ventured into the rhythm gaming sphere in a world where that has been pretty dead for the last like 10 years or so, but thanks to streamers and content creators, it is still a very vivid and popping community, especially on Reddit and everything. People always talk about, when's the next game going to release? It's been 10 plus years since the last one. So there is definitely a community and an audience for these types of games. I just hope that the companies listen and hear them out. But going back to the original Guitar Hero game, like I said, it spawned an entire ecosystem of rhythm-based music games, and they had a bunch of different spin-offs, including DJ Hero, Band Hero. They had spin-offs with specific bands, like they had Guitar Hero Aerosmith, Metallica, Van Halen. Like it was specific to those bands and their catalogs of music, and I had a great time playing those. And its rival Rock Band also was the first to have not just the guitar, but they also had the microphone, the bass, and the drum set, which was really, really fun to play. They also had a bunch of different spin-offs. They had Beatles Rock Band, Green Day, like all kinds of legendary bands that you get to play their full library of music and enjoy with your friends, especially in Rock Band where it was a multiplayer event. And I used to have Rock Band nights with my friends back home. I'm sure some of you did as well. It is always such a great time, and we've kind of lost our way when it comes to that. We've kind of forgotten just how fun it is because there hasn't been a new Guitar Hero or Rock Band game since 2015. That's 10 years ago since the last main entry into either of those games, which is pretty sad. I mean, like I said, there's definitely an audience out there. People yearn to play those games again. I know I do. I'm sure you feel the same, but we'll see what happens in the future. There have already been rumors of the next Rock Band or Guitar Hero game, but like I said, neither of that has yet to come to fruition, but we'll see what happens. Activision was the original partner with the Guitar Hero games, and if anyone knows anything about Activision games, they are notorious for burning out franchises. They absolutely oversaturated the market when it came to Guitar Hero games. And the majority of those games, they released the original release in 2005. And then you had a majority of the rest of those games that I mentioned, all the spin-offs, the sequels, everything like that. The majority of those were released in that 5-year period from 2005 to 2010. So, they just flooded the market with all kinds of games, and they self-admitted, that we thought we could treat it like Madden, like an annual sports game, because there's so much music and there's so much new music that is releasing. They wanted to, I guess, capitalize on that and just try to have like a yearly release when it came to that. But then, like I said, they oversaturated it, and then the sales numbers dipped as a result. And until they tried to reboot it again back in 2015 with Guitar Hero Live, where they completely revamped how the game is played with a brand new controller. So the original Guitar Hero controller, it has the 5 colored buttons. You know what I'm talking about, the green, yellow, red, blue, and orange. If you're playing on expert mode, you use that orange one. And they completely revamped that, and instead of the 5 frets like that, they had 3 frets, but 2 buttons top and bottom on each of those frets. It did simulate a more realistic guitar playing or fake guitar playing experience when it came to shifting your fingers up and down on the actual guitar. But, for longtime fans of the series, they were so used to the 5-button original guitar that it was a nice welcoming thing that they were trying to do something different. But at the same time, you had to relearn how to actually play the game first before you can actually get good at it. And then on top of that, they only had like 40 some odd songs on the base game disc. And then the rest of that you had to buy through microtransactions in a feature that they called Guitar Hero TV, where they were constantly adding songs. I think it totaled to amount around over 400 songs when it was all said and done. But again, outside of the 40 base songs that come with the game and you can play in career mode, you had to spend credits on those songs. And the worst part of it was you couldn't even keep the songs to forever in your library. You only got like access to them. So that was a big reason why that one failed. I mean, I like the concept, like I said, of revamping it and trying something new, but the way they did everything else was pretty bad in my opinion, and I think that's a reason why it failed. And then unfortunately, that kind of scared those publishers and developers off from venturing back into that rhythm game sphere and trying to make a new game because of the disappointing release of that game. Same with Rock Band. It has also been 10 years if you don't count the VR game that they released in 2017, which I really haven't heard anything about. I haven't experienced it for myself, but I don't think it was making waves or anything. But the main reason why these games are still alive is because of the community and the fans of these games, because they have created so many fan projects and community projects like Clone Hero, for example. It is a completely user-built game where you can pretty much chart your own songs. So if you haven't played Guitar Hero before, you're pretty much strumming and pressing the buttons in coordination of what's on the screen. And you have these notes that come down the screen, and as they cross that bar at the bottom, that's when you need to hit and strum them as you play the song. And people have been able to create their own charts of songs and even just normal like sounds or like memes of like YouTube videos. Like there have been people who have created a guitar chart for an entire episodes of The Simpsons. Like I've seen some crazy stuff what people can do. The creativity is unmatched, and that is completely, like I said, community driven. And the fan projects that have spawned from that, you have other ones where it is integrated now into Fortnite Festival, which is Fortnite's latest venture into the rhythm gaming space. And they also have different instruments for, guitar, bass, drums. And honestly, that's the closest thing we have to a new Rock Band game in the year 2025. And it's no surprise that it is absolutely thriving. And from Fortnite, of all unlikely sources, to have a rhythm game that works and people enjoy and is successful, it's a breath of fresh air. Even if it's the same, formulaic style of the original games, I don't think people care a lot about that. They just want a new lease on these games, and like I said, we'll see if that happens. There are rumors swirling with a brand new studio called Red Octane Games, and they have stated that they have entered production on their debut title. So hopefully that means a new Guitar Hero game is in the works. There are a lot of famous streamers like Akai, who I don't know if you've seen him on Twitch or YouTube. He is probably the leading streamer when it comes to the Clone Hero and Guitar Hero scene and rhythm-based games, because he is probably the best I've ever seen on a Guitar Hero game. Like, if you haven't watched his videos, I highly recommend it, or tune into one of his streams, because he is absolutely insane. He always pushes the boundary when it comes to rhythm games and challenges himself. He plays songs on like 200% speed, which is insane. I don't even know how he processes any of the notes that come to him, but we'll see. I'm very hopeful. My new guitar that I ordered is supposed to come in tomorrow. We'll see if that's the case, but I'm very excited to get my hands on it, and it is pretty much made for modern rhythm games, but still has that classic feel of the original Guitar Hero guitars. And I want to say there's 10 or so presets on the guitar, and I believe 6 of them are specific to Fortnite Festival, which again is absolutely popping right now. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend it. I don't know if you can use your original Xbox guitars if you have those lying around on that. I think, unfortunately, unless you have a modern controller that was made in the last few years or so, you have to use either a keyboard or an actual Xbox or PlayStation controller. But it's completely free to play. All you need to download is Fortnite, and then they have a separate Fortnite Festival mode within Fortnite. And I highly recommend checking that out. It is a lot of fun. The song catalog is really, really fun, and I can't wait to play that with my new guitar. But looking ahead to other things that happened around the area, Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott was recently back in his hometown of Houghton, Louisiana, and he was honored on Friday night. And KTAL's Chris Burns has more.
Usually it's a Friday night. We see stadiums packed. But in Houghton tonight, there was plenty of people on hand to see one man, Dak Prescott. And for many Fridays to come, they'll still see a part of him. From his entrance featuring fireworks to the hype video of him throughout his football career to his speech thanking the community, there was one thing that was made clear tonight. Dak Prescott is forever a Houghton Buccaneer. They joked about how the new football scoreboard is one of the tallest landmarks in Houghton, and that, of course, was made possible from Prescott's $1 million donation to the school. Houghton honored him by naming it Prescott Field. That gesture and tonight won't be forgotten soon by the now Cowboys quarterback.
Amazing blessing, something I don't take for granted. Just being from here, understanding how hard these people love, who these people are. That's why I told them, like, I am from Houghton. I'm so proud to be a Buccaneer, and this was very, very special. Can't thank everyone here who made this possible enough. From the video to the words spoke, all the different moments were very special, and I'm super thankful just to have this moment, have it with my family, and to be able to give this to Houghton.
They didn't stop at the field either. Dak's number 6 jersey was retired, and as made official by the mayor, November 6, 2025 will forever be Dak Prescott Day in the Houghton community.
And for all of our viewers who are Cowboys fans, the Dallas Cowboys were actually on bye this week, so no action from them. But to our Saints fans, they actually played the Carolina Panthers this weekend, and they came out with a win. They actually looked pretty good doing so. They picked up their second win of the season. They are now 2-8. So they're obviously not going to make the playoffs or anything, but it was a welcome sign of the future, and hopefully they can build on this moving forward. Quarterback Tyler Shuck actually looked very, very good for the Saints after a lot of criticism to the front office for drafting him so early, with the injury history that he had in college and the fact that he had to redshirt, had a medical redshirt, transfer, everything like that. And he was one of the older rookies that came out of this year's class. There was a lot of criticism directed at the front office, but he absolutely balled out. He had 282 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, including a 62-yard touchdown to Chris Olave and a 30-yard touchdown to tight end Juwan Johnson. So he looked really, really good. That was definitely, like I said, a sign of things to come. Hopefully, if he can get things together, they might have their quarterback going forward. I know that was a huge question mark going into this season because they had Tyler Shuck and they also had Spencer Rattler. And you know how the old saying goes, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you really have none. Because if you don't have the guy starting, it's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the offense. I mean, you're talking a lot of it's very difficult to scheme and game plan if you don't know who's starting on each given week. If you have a prime bona fide starter at each week that you can consistently rely on, it's a lot easier to game plan an offense based around him and draw up plays for him. So, like I said, hopefully he is able to build upon this and take more steps forward in the right direction as he progresses through his NFL career. And the defense for the Saints also was pretty stout. They held Carolina to just 175 yards of total offense. and 124 of those yards were from Bryce Young, who again was held to under 200 passing yards this season. I believe this is the 8th time in 9 starts that has happened. And he also had 2 turnovers, including a very costly fumble later on in the game. And for Carolina, this is a real head scratcher because on their opening drive, they took it 67 yards and capped it off with a Rico Dowdle touchdown. And he punched it in. I don't know if you saw his celebration with the Key and Peele pump thing after he got fined last week for too many, but he did not have any this week, fortunately for him. But their next 5 possessions after that opening touchdown resulted in just 36 net yards of offense and 4 punts. So really, really gross stuff from Carolina's offense after that very promising opening drive touchdown. So like I said, it's a head scratcher for sure. If you're a Panthers fan, I would be confused as well because that was just did not make sense. The whole season for Carolina has not made a lot of sense because they have been beating really good teams and then they drop games like this to, the 1-8 Saints. So it's very, very confusing. I understand it's a divisional matchup. Those games are always going to be closer than normal, but still, it's very, very confusing to see them drop a game like this, especially when they were looking so promising. They had won 4 of their last 5 games before yesterday's game against the Saints, and they're trying to chase that playoff spot. They were sitting right above 500 before the loss, and they are just behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who did lose to my New England Patriots on Sunday, who have rolled all the way to 8-2 in the AFC. But I digress. The Saints, on the other hand, they are rolling into a bye week after this win. And hopefully they can build upon this and because their schedule coming up is pretty easy on average compared to other teams. They are up next for them are the 3-6 Atlanta Falcons, which is another divisional matchup. So that one could go either way. And then they also take on the 3-7 Miami Dolphins. So 2 very winnable games for them. I'm just not sure Saints fans want them to win those games because right now they are among the top when it comes to draft picks for the 2026 NFL draft based on their record. And all the Saints fans, all my friends that I've talked to said they hope they don't win another game, but they are very happy to see Tyler Shuck succeeding and actually playing pretty well. So hopefully that continues to be the case. They just hope that he puts up 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in a shootout loss at the end of the day. But we'll see what happens. That's all I have today for KTAL News Now. Be sure to follow us on all of our socials and our YouTube at KTAL News, where you can find previous episodes of the show, and to also visit KTALnews.com, which is where you can get all of your local breaking and trending topics around the area. And I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Thank you for joining us. I'm Anthony Mocklin. I'll see you next time.